Good morning. So today's the 24th of December 2019, and I've been trying to prove that the Earth is a globe, and so far I haven't been able to do that. And I ran into a problem this morning listening to some physics about the Earth, and basically it just has to do with the theory of relativity and how momentum and velocity interact with each other, and how on a spinning globe, how the atmosphere works, how planes work, how everything flies, and how the atmosphere moves with the Earth and how the planes move within the atmosphere, and all this being done without a container. So that's a really huge issue that I don't like playing what if games with, but of course, to figure some of this stuff out, that's the game we have to play. So what if gravity is able to create a gas pressure using the collective force of all the atoms to hold down this gas to the Earth as it rotates at 1,000 miles an hour, and there's still winds that move around opposite of the spin of the Earth, so all that's still moving around, because gravity is that uniform, that universally applied, that it allows for free moving of anything that's in its entrapment to still move in opposite directions of where it's being pulled. So that's a lot to grasp, but let's just say it does this, okay? And so we want to fly to space, as we are told that we have been to space. We want to reach escape velocity and make it to outer space where there is no gravity, where we can float and we can be in synchronous orbit with the Earth as it rotates underneath us. Let's say we do this, we reach escape velocity, and we break through escape velocity. That means we're breaking through a gas pressure, a pressure that's holding everything in. Now my problem with this is so we're breaking through the velocity using momentum to get to something that has no velocity and no momentum. And at that very point that we break through, there's a vacuum on the other end. Okay, so say that gravity is able to hold everything in. As soon as we break through, that vacuum is now going to pull on that hole, just like it would a balloon. And we're going to lose our atmosphere, and we're going to keep venting atmosphere, and we're going to keep losing atmosphere until all the atmosphere is gone, because vacuum is going to pull that hole. Now, magically, or let's just say hypothetically, gravity achieved this balance of gases, so that without a container, without a glass container, we had a gas pressure that we experience every day. But then we pop it. Man, why wouldn't you be scared to go to space if you understood the physics of it? Okay? I'd be scared to go to space, especially after, I've thought of this before, but not as clear as it is right now. So I'm just going to throw some of this stuff out, and we're just going to assume that, as NASA has said, as the government has said, we reached space, and gravity was able to heal that hole that we created in our atmosphere against the vacuum of space. It was able to heal that and mend it using the atoms and the gravitational pull to pull it back together. And so now we have basically a rigid gas that's on the top of the Earth again, keeping gas pressure. No longer are we venting atmosphere from that escape velocity. Now the gas pressure has returned. Now, not to mention, we'd probably feel there'd probably be some kind of measurable force that we'd feel as escape velocity was reached and we broke out into space. It'd be a big thing. I mean, if we are able to mend it, it would be something we would all know about. And it probably would cause a sonic boom bigger than what we've ever experienced. But I'm just throwing that out there. This is for people to mull over and think about. People that have a little bit more time to sit down and do some calculations than I do. I don't have that time. I drive. I'm a truck driver, and although I could do the calculations and put a lot of these into equations, I don't have that time. But I do have the time to think about it and come up with some really good questions for those people who do have that time. Okay, so we're in space and we're spending some time in outer space, right? And gravity has mended the hole that escape velocity created when we went to space. So that's pretty big odds, but let's just say it did all that. The Earth's atmosphere is spinning a lot faster than the Earth, because it's spinning with the Earth, right? And it's not just spinning at a different rate, it's spinning with the same rate of the Earth. So it's spinning a lot faster than 1,000 miles an hour at the surface of the Earth. So the very top outer rim of gases is spinning faster than our 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. So we're in space, and it's December 25th, 2019, and we've been in space for, let's say, a week. We want to come home for Christmas. How do we get back in our atmosphere? Gravity just sealed up the hole that allowed us to get into space utilizing escape velocity. Now this is for everybody to think about. How do we get back into our atmosphere? Because we don't have anything to push off of. We're in space. And whatever forces we have in space, or we've even said that we have in space, is not adequate enough for catching up with the speed of the Earth, catching up with the speed of the upper atmosphere as it's rotating with the Earth and in synchronous orbit in the gravitational pull of the Earth. Not at a slower rate, but at a equal rate, but traveling much faster, right? So now we're outside of all that, and we want to get back in. Okay, so we're going along with it. So let's say we have the velocity of the Earth. We're still, the Earth's spinning a little bit faster around us, or below us, but we want to speed back up to enter back in. Okay. How do we not get deflected by that gas pressure? I mean, it's pretty intense. But what we're led to believe by Hollywood is that we're just sucked easily back in. It's just a gravity that just pulls us back in. Well, if we had to have escape velocity to get out, how come we don't need entry velocity to get back in to the momentum that would deflect us? Maybe somebody else can explain it better. I know I visualize it correctly, but we're on the outside of this spinning system, that atmosphere that may be light in comparison when we're in the atmosphere, but when we're outside the atmosphere and we are in space, it becomes very, very solid. I mean, it becomes a substance to be reckoned with, even though it's gas, because it's all moving with the Earth, and we are not anymore. We achieved escape velocity, and so now we want to get back in. It would be impossible with the tools that we've said that we've had, with the understanding of how we achieve getting back to Earth. It would not just be as simple as gravity pulling us back in. Sorry. And, I'm putting it out there, and I'm saying this because, like I said, I don't have the time to do the calculations. I know some people do out there, but I do have a pretty good visual mind, and I can see this all working in my mind. And Earth is a globe. I mean, it just is. And outside of multiple different things that I have come to realize that cannot be proven, that I thought was proven, this is just something else on top of it that really kind of, it bums me out, but it makes me excited because I feel as if it's correct, and I guess I felt there was always something wrong, and but it makes it was accepted, and I was told it was proven, and now questioning whether it's proven or not, and really critically thinking about it, I realize these are all what-if games. They really are. It's fantasy. It is true sci-fi, because if you want to use science does not, as far as I can tell, science does not prove that we live in a heliocentric universe at all. There's no science behind that. That is a philosophy and a religion. And I hope that maybe my thoughts on this help some people. Maybe they can debunk what I'm saying and really, kind of tell me how escape velocity doesn't escape all our atmosphere, and the hole can be plugged, and that how we can achieve an entry velocity with nothing to push off of, no thrusters, no nothing. I mean, it's in space. How are you going to use a thruster to match the velocity of the Earth? Synchronous orbit isn't enough. I mean, we're in synchronous orbit when we're leaving, but we have to achieve escape velocity. So we're in synchronous orbit outside of gravity, outside of the system, and we're trying to re-enter into that system, but we're told that it's a passive re-entry. Just gravity says, come here, I'm going to pull you back in. I don't think so. 1,000-mile-an-hour winds plus, or over 1,000-mile-an-hour atmosphere going by us. 200 miles. Let's say we drop 200 miles per hour. That's enough to deflect us off the surface of the atmosphere. We're not going to get pulled back in just passively. We have to really work hard to get back in there. And that's all I'm trying to say. We have never been taught this. And what we have been taught is just straight garbage. And so I'm leaving this for critical thought for other people to talk about what I'm saying. And I would love for somebody to prove to me that there's a globe, that we live, that sci-fi is not sci-fi, that there's actually some science behind it. I would love that, because I grew up in awe of NASA, in awe of knowledge and science, and now I just realized that we're just not as smart as we thought we were. Like, yeah, we're man, really hasn't, we've achieved some things. We really have. I mean, we look at vehicles and we look at modern industry and all that, but we created a lot of problems with it too. So we're really not that smart. We really aren't. And all this AI crap, and oh my gosh, I don't want to live in that world. I want to go back to farming, where things were actually more balanced and life was more balanced. That's just my opinion. But instead, I have to drive 24/7. I got to be gone on Christmas Eve in order to make a dime, in order to make a living, to provide for our family. Anyways, Merry Christmas.